Hi there, I'm Kylie Mowbray Allen from Hello Media.
And I'm Jenny Walk from Elephant in the Room Consulting, and you're tuning into Bite Size Business Live Podcast, the show that helps business owners get clarity and insight to grow their dream business.
Whether you're launching, ready to scale, or figuring out what's next, we discuss the nitty-gritty, the hard bits, the opportunities, and the behind the scenes, and share how we've grown our own companies and helped others do the same.
We're glad you're here. Good morning, Kylie. How are you today?
Great to see you today, Jenny. A Monday. We're ready to have a big, awesome week. We've got the Growth Trio at the end of this week in Brisbane, which is really exciting.
I am so excited to be doing the Growth Trio in our hometown. It's going to be so much fun. We had so much fun at Byron event a couple of weeks ago, and so doing this week, this event this Friday, it's going to be at the Colmsley Hotel with you and Ash is just going to be epic. Looking forward to it.
Me too. So we're running a bit of a series at the moment, aren't we? All about business for good. And today, so we've got it's in 3 parts, and today we're talking about sustainability in terms of your business. So this is really something that you and I are both very passionate about, is a business for good. So we're covering lots of amazing things, inclusivity, accessibility, etc. But today it's about sustainability. So Jenny, let's get stuck into that. What actually is, for those that aren't really sure, what is a sustainable business?
So this is the funny thing about sustainability. You can define it in so many different ways. For me, it's around balancing making money, so revenue and profit for your business, with the way that you do business. So people and planet, if you like. So I guess from a First Nations perspective, we talk about culture and community and, and everything being intersected and connected in the way that we operate. Essentially, sustainability in business is doing the same thing. So what you do, how you do it, and the impact you have is part of your discussion around sustainability. So balancing financial performance with social and environmental responsibilities.
I love that. I really love that explanation. And I also think it's about doing it thoughtfully. So it's about looking ahead at what you're doing now and how that's going to impact things for the greater good in the future, as well as for yourself.
100%. And I think there's this conversation around when we think about being sustainable in business. Sustainability is about being able to do things consistently and repeatedly and being able to, set up systems and processes that allow you to do it sort of forever, if you like. And so if we take that principle and say, when we're running a business, the way that we operate needs to be done in a way that we can continue to create and generate wealth and connection and community in a long-term sustainable way. So that sustainable means not burning out, not overusing resources, not burning out your people, making sure your customers are engaged with throughout that whole process. So when I think of a sustainable business and developing one, and you said it first in the way that we talked about it, is doing business for good and doing it in a good way. So and then we can talk about ethically and morally and all those other conversations, but they're also subjective. But if we just say, when you're working in your business, are you thinking about the impact it's having on your people, and so your social and community? Are you thinking about the impact you're having on the environment? And are you thinking about the impact that you're having on the customers and your business as an entity in itself? If we're constantly doing those in the most effective way for our business, that's being mindful of the impact, then you'll create a sustainable business.
Brilliantly said. And so that's looking at every single aspect of what you're doing. So your supply chains, where your let's talk about supply chains actually for a moment. I think that's a really important one.
Yeah, so supply chain is often we don't think about where we're buying our items from, right? So many years ago, we didn't really care. There was limited options for where we could buy product or services in most industries. But the rise of small business owners and the rise of entrepreneurship over the last sort of 15 to 20 years means there is so much more competition in almost every part of the supply chain. So what that means is you can actually be really careful and thoughtful about who's providing you goods and services. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking everything from the toilet paper that you use to the coffee that you buy, to the electricity that you generate and utilize, to the people providing, your good cost of goods sold. So things, whether it's inputs into your product, or even in my case, the organizations that I use to provide, software as services. So everything that you do in supply chain impacts your sustainability. So for part of the B Corp accreditation process, which we talk about, we look at how are you deciding your supply chain. So are you having checks and balances for your supply chain? Are you asking them, are you doing work ethically? Are you working in the local community? Do you have any community engagement activities? Do you include First Nations or other diverse groups within your supply chain? And are you encouraging that? Are you doing it from an environmental management perspective? Are you finding places that have the lowest footprint? And a really great example of that has come in the last sort of 15 to 20 years are the rise of the restaurants that are, the table to play, farm to table model, where everything is sourced within 125 kilometers of the restaurant or the cafe that's being used. That's choosing to have suppliers do everything. So to do that properly, that means milk, bread, eggs, meat, all the different produce. It's not just saying some of our produce can come locally, but we can't get it because, Paul's is cheaper or Norco's cheaper. It's making a conscious decision about every aspect of your supply chain. And you can create such a massive impact with that simple aspect of your business. So if your focus is on environmental sustainability, choosing supply chain partners who are within 125, even 300 kilometers of where you are, pick a number, that's going to reduce your footprint. If it's around ethically sourced, then looking at the organizations, how are they managed? Are they diverse? Do they have, a modern slavery policies? So we can actually choose to decide what's important to us, and then we focus on that area in our supply chain. Or we can just look at it broadly and say, we're happy to actually talk about all those things. And we create a checklist or a supplier questionnaire, if you like, that allows us to get to understand who's actually providing our services and goods.
I love the idea of a questionnaire. That's great. And what's so important to think about is, what do we want our future to look like? So in terms of our supply chain, are we, even for our printing your business cards or your flyers or your banners or whatever, are you doing it with a company that goes offshore? And then even just looking at the footprint of that, getting that stuff here, compared to using a printer in your local area and supporting, as they're known in the States, a mom and pop business.
Yeah.
So what are we trying to make our future look like? And do we want a future where we still have shops in the main street? Or do we want a future where really it's all gone online and we don't have options to step into? Or are they just going to be giant Kmarts everywhere we go? I'm pretty sure most of us actually do enjoy a locally owned store.
Well, it's interesting, even to, so I'm getting married very soon, very lucky to be getting married soon. And even the nameplates that we're using, so the name cards for the wedding, when we were looking on Etsy, we actually said we want to only use suppliers who are based in Australia and where possible based in Brisbane. So there was a couple of reasons. Obviously, shipment time is lower, but for us, we didn't want to be sending all our details offshore to get done when we knew there were providers here. So all the different elements that we've had, or most of the elements we have for the wedding, not everything, because some of them we just could not source here in a financially viable way. But most of the things that we're doing, whether it's the, our acrylic boards and the name card plates, that's getting done by a local printer here in Brisbane. The name cards by a local printer in Brisbane. Who's going to, producing our, order of service cards. We were going to print that at home, and we've decided we just want a slightly different stock. So we're going to a local printer here instead of sending it to Vistaprint to get it done in Belgium and then shipped back here. So we've been really conscious about all those decisions, even for our wedding. So when we're talking about sustainable business, we're thinking about how do we as a business attract customers like me who are interested from that perspective, but then how are we actually then going to market and saying to other suppliers, we want to be in your supply chain because we're going to give you a competitive advantage. And there is such a strong competitive advantage to be sustainable. So whether it's ESG, so environmental, social, and governance, or whether you're looking at CSG, which is around community and more than environmental, but it's still looking at the same concept, it's about saying, how do we make sure, as you said, there's something left as a legacy? So we're not going to be destroying the planet by using, perhaps having high footprint or too much paper or whatever it is. But it's also about managing your profitability and more and more the cost of doing business in Australia is coming down in some areas, but more importantly, customers are happy to pay a little bit more if you can provide that service locally. And so there's this benefit, cost benefit that you need to do for your business.
Absolutely, Jenny. And there's so many different industries tackling this and approaching it in different ways. Like you look at real estate, for example, you're not going to go offshore, are you, to try and find a place down the road? So that's very much still people-centered. And, that's a great thing. But you look at the amount of people buying clothing offshore that's, they're getting it shipped here, which is costing the environment. But it's also then if it's not the right size or whatever, what's happening? It's going into landfill or just clogging up, it's often it's not good quality, etc. And so we're in a real situation where it's so much cheaper to buy in those kind of places, but it's actually not always great quality when it arrives.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to those buying decisions, right? It's not only about cost. You can buy something once at a slightly higher price of good quality, or you buy it at a lower quality and have to replace it more often because of that reason. So in actual fact, your long opportunity cost for that product is higher when you actually do the cheaper one early. And it's a conversation I have with a lot of businesses in terms of choosing the right inputs to their product. But sustainability, if you cannot make those changes and you're in an industry where some of those supply chains are fixed, you can simply have a conversation with your organization, say, do we need to print everything, or can we be a zero paper office? Is there a way that we can create our world that we're going to reduce the number of, reduce our footprint? And if you do have a footprint, are you tracking that? So we track ours through what used to be Sustain Life is now it's changed its name. We're Kiva, I think it is now. But Sustain Life, you can still find. We track our carbon footprint through then. But what we've also now done is we look into Qantas because we travel so much, and we're having a look at what our carbon footprint is from our flights. And you can actually, when you're using business rewards with Qantas, it actually calculates your carbon footprint for your business. So if you're using and Virgin has a very similar program, but it allows me to then say at the end of the year, this is how much I can offset, and be really hand on heart, know that I've tracked all aspects of my business. So if you have to spend more money on those aspects, it's not like throwing up your hands in the air saying, oh, well, I can't fix it. It's actually saying, well, what can I do to minimize and mitigate that impact? And for us, it's carbon footprinting. It's also working with other organizations who are mindful, like we're a B Corp facilitator. And in doing the B Corp facilitation, whether you choose to go through the certification process or not, but just going through yourself, having a business, logging into the B Corp site and going through the process and the steps for the accreditation or the certification process actually gives you a whole lot of amazing questions that asks you how you treat your workers. What is your environmental impact? What are your work practices like? Are you looking after your community? And are you looking after your customers? So even if you don't end up clicking the button at the end and saying, yep, I'm going to become a B Corp, doing the actual process in the B Corp assessment, which is the BIA assessment, the business impact assessment, that will already start to give you an idea of what your footprint and impact is. And then you can ask those questions. Do we want to change it? Are we happy where we are? Do we really care about sustainability? Or do our customers care about sustainability? And that's really important going forward.
Nicely said. And if you do care about it, then let people know. It's really important to share what you're doing in your business and how you're making a difference. I think people are interested in it.
Well, it's actually really interesting. I had the same conversation recently with my hairdresser. Amazing hairdresser. She's been around forever. It's an FX studio here in Brisbane. And so she is a zero waste studio. And I was like, what is that? Her process is, and it's actually an arrangement that's being done in a lot of hairdressing salons, is they actually capture the leftover chemicals, all the bottles, even the hair that's cut is actually utilized in a range of products. So that hair that's cut and captured and collected is used in the pads that they use to soak up oil spills in the seas. And leftover chemicals are rinsed out, and the water that's recycled from that they use from that is actually used to water local garden beds for councils, and then the plastic is recycled. So she, as a salon, is a zero waste salon, and she pays a small amount of money for every customer to allow her to maintain that accreditation. She doesn't tell anybody. And I'm like, why don't you tell her? Because she's like,
She needs to.
I know, but she said, I'm already busy. I'm already booked. I don't need to because it's just what I do. And so they're the type of things that the more and more we see how easy it is to just make it part of your business, it actually becomes the way of, we talked at the very, very start, the way you do good through your business, and just doing business the right way does not have to be costly. It does not have to cause a lot of major structural changes. It's just asking, am I right making the right decision? And is this going to be sustainable for my community, my planet, and my business? And if the answer is yes, then it's a simple question, simple answer to make the change.
Brilliant, Jenny. So I've put a challenge out to everyone listening. Look at your business, do like Jenny suggested, of a checklist or a questionnaire to your suppliers, but take a look at what you're doing and what you could do differently. Let's all
Definitely.
just make one change.
Yeah, and if everybody made that single change, it would make a profound impact across the world, whether it's from a supply chain, whether it's, not printing as much, or whether it's choosing a locally sourced supplier, 100%. But I'm very mindful that this is a topic that we could talk for hours on, and I often do as a Big Corp facilitator. But next week, we're going to continue this conversation and talk a little bit more about sustainability next week and then the week after that. So I'm really excited about continuing these conversations over the next couple of weeks.
Me too, Jenny. Well, I look forward to seeing you next Monday. And of course, this Friday in Brisbane. I'm flying back to Australia on Wednesday, and I'll be seeing you in Brisbane on Friday.
And we're so excited to have you back here. And I'm home for us, but I know New Zealand's home for you, but it'd be so wonderful to have you back here. We're looking forward to, for everybody, make sure you reach out to Kylie on hellomedia.team website, everything you can find, all her socials, connect with her there. And for me, you can connect with me via eitrconsulting.com or Elephant in the Room AU on our socials. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Bite Size Live Business Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and follow us so you don't miss any future episodes. We look forward to talking to you then. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.